All right, welcome to this episode of Home Based Business 101. I am your host, Meredith, and today I am joined by Madhurima Sappatti, all the way from India. She is a freedom soul coach, and we are here today to talk about the topic of stress and burnout for entrepreneurs. So welcome to the show, Madhurima.
Woohoo! Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited. We've just been talking as we've been getting ready to hit the record button and get this episode going. And you've got a really interesting story about leaving the corporate world because of stress and burnout and actually turning that into a business for yourself where you're helping other entrepreneurs prevent that in their lives. So tell us a little bit about what your experience was like in the corporate world and how you made that switch to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, for sure. My journey with 9 to 5s or corporate life has been very hectic because so far every corporate job that I have been a part of has been extremely toxic or just didn't align with me. That energy just didn't align with me, and I always knew that there was something missing, and it was not my passion. It was not the work that I enjoyed and loved to do, which was writing. I was a copywriter and content writer and content manager and all of the things, that all the titles that come with it. So I used to love writing, and I remember the biggest experience or the worst experience for me was back in 2019, where I was working for an ad agency, and I was the sole copywriter working and writing content for 3 to 5 that eventually was going to add up, and we were going to have a few more clients come in. So you could say 5 to 6 companies that I was working and writing copy for, and I was writing the copy for our own agency, and I was managing community for them, and I was talking to people. I was doing it all. I was directing the graphic designer. I was literally doing it all. So, it was like a 3-parter company, and I was doing half of the work. And oh my gosh, I can't even, but you can see how it still affects me,
For sure.
I was extremely burnt out. And the really worst part about that job was that I was working for American companies late into the night, and I was working for Indian companies in the morning. So there was no proper time constraints or time boundaries, basically. And my only saving grace was something that I had discussed the day I decided to join the job was, hey, is it possible for me to work from home? Because I live far away. It will take me 2 hours to travel to the office and 2 hours to travel back. And they were like, yeah, for sure. And so that was kind of lauded over my head, like, oh, well, you work from home. You can work late into the night. You can get up early in the morning. That's not a problem. So yeah, it was pretty toxic. And back then, unfortunately, burnout was not as hyped up a word as it is now. And so I had no idea what was happening to me, right? I was just constantly panicked, constantly anxious, and I was just like in this constant state of worry, right? I would hear a ping go on my phone, and I'd be like, here we go again. I would look at my computer and my laptop, and I would cringe away from it. I'd be like, oh, not again. So there was this moment, and it would really piss me off when I had these reactions. And it took me a couple of months to realize why. And it was because I, as a person, love to express myself by writing. That's how I used to express myself, all these emotions that come up for me, how I feel at night, when I'm walking in the night and I see the moonlight kind of weaving through the leaves and all of that stuff, move with the wind and all of that things. I used to love to express myself using these metaphors, using nature. And throughout the journey, when I was working for the company, I had not written for myself even once, which was the most annoying part, was because that was why I was having this friction, because I was like, I am not writing for me. I am not doing this for me. I'm just slaughtering away in this company with no end goal, with no appreciation, with no respect for time, no respect for personal lives. And it was crazy and chaotic. So eventually I decided to quit for the sake of my mental health. I had no idea what was on, but I was like, I know that if I stuck around at this job, I would no longer stick around in the world, because it was that exhausting and chaotic for me. And I remember now that as we talk about it, that I had a lot of other reactions. I used to be angry, irritated. I used to I used to be pissed off at everyone. I used to be pissed off at myself. So there were a lot of visceral reactions happening in the background that kind of added up to the experience of me being burnt out. I had decided to join another company at that point of time, which I had to quit because of the pandemic. And so it was during that time when I had a lot of time on my hands to recalibrate myself. I realized that, oh, what I was experiencing was burnout. And it took me another half a year to actually get out of it. And that was when I was like, when I was getting into the zone of, let me try, give a try, give coaching a try. That was when I was like, oh, this is good, this is nice, this is something where I feel passionate and I can sit down in front of my laptop and I'm all fired up to go. And one of my mentors was like, back then it was all about reconnecting with yourself, finding yourself when you're feeling lost, and all of these things. And he's like, this is wonderful, but do you think there's an element missing here? And I thought about it and I was like, burnout is the thing that's missing here. So burnout was then added into my coaching thing, and then the rest, as they say, is history.
Which is amazing. I can personally identify with so much of what you've talked about. I too worked in the corporate world for about 20 years in public company sales and marketing, ran big teams of, copywriters and graphic designers and web developers and, even a huge print production facility at one point. And you just keep striving and keep striving and keep striving. And I won't forget, our son was born, and that was the thing for me that caused me to step into a home-based business, working from home for myself. And I will never forget leaving my job, knowing absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that it didn't work for me to work 80 hours a week anymore. It didn't work for me to travel 50% of the time anymore. And I loved my job. I loved the people. I loved the products we offered, but it was and had taken a huge toll on me. And in the months after leaving, I didn't realize how many behaviors I had created that were really, created simply so that I could survive, like these survival behaviors, just so that I could manage the environment that I was in. And I think it's awesome that you have taken that and that you have now turned that into really a coaching business where you are helping other people unwind all of that baggage, all of that history, all of these things that we tell ourselves are okay. Oh, it's okay that I'm getting a text message at 2:00 in the morning and that I'm expected to answer it. Like, that's not okay. That's not normal. That shouldn't be happening.
I hear you on that. Yeah.
A lot of that leads women in particular to saying, wait, I think I want to be my own boss. I think I want to go and do my own thing. So as you made that decision in the time of the pandemic, what did you find that surprised you as you started your business? What did you find that, you didn't anticipate was going to be on your plate as a new entrepreneur?
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of good surprises and there were a lot of bad surprises. The good surprise was, like you said, I loved being my own boss, because as a person, I don't like to be ordered around. I don't like being like pushed around, being like, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this, and all of that stuff. So I was having the time of my life doing the things that I wanted to do. I could get up at any point of time, and I could finish up the housework, and I could then just go and sit at whatever God forbidden hour I like to sit down and finish up a lot of my work, get everything done in a couple of hours. And just enjoy being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur. But the really bad aspect of the process was realizing that, oh, there is so much more to the work that I'm doing than being a coach. I have a dog that's really agreeing with me here. So if you hear like soft sounds, it's just them. She's just like, yeah, I agree.
Well,
But
that's the beauty of working from home, right? Is that we get to be around our animals and our families, and that we get to be in that environment. So
exactly, yeah, that was a huge thing for me, but the really bad thing was not anticipating the amount of work that would fall on my plate as a solopreneur. I was like, oh, I'm going to be a coach, but then I realized I had to be an entrepreneur, I had to be a marketer, I had to be a content writer, I had to be a videographer, I had to learn how to do podcasts, I had to do all these different things that I didn't anticipate, because I was just like, I just want to sit down and talk to people and help them and guide them. But here I am expected to actually manage my finances. That freaked the hell out of me. Manage, talk to people. Like, I was doing literally everything I was doing back in my toxic workplace, but I was doing it here for my own self. And I had to be accountable, because I had to take care of my own company. I had to take care of that responsibility that I had shouldered upon myself of, oh, well, if you are going to join, if you're going to start a company, if you're going to start a business, you better do it right. That is my thing. Yeah. So
Well, and that's
yeah.
where I'll say there, I think that's where we have to have recognition that what we hear a lot about in the corporate world is burnout, right? I mean, I happen to be in the corporate world when
Mhm.
technology, I'll never forget when I got my first BlackBerry, right? I'll date myself here a little bit, but I got a BlackBerry and everything changed. Everything changed. The expectations, the workload, the concept of, how available you were going to be.
Mhm.
It was like
Mhm.
technology is really the thing that I think pushed corporations to be able to be in our lives every minute of the day, because they're supplying you with the phone and they're supplying you with the technology. And then there's therefore an expectation that you're going to be there. So that burnout we hear about a lot.
Mhm. Mhm.
In entrepreneurship, I think we hear about like the romanticized version, like
Yeah.
be your
Oh,
own boss, work from
yeah.
home. It's great. Total freedom,
Yeah.
laptop lifestyle. But
Yeah.
there's a different kind of burnout
Mm.
that comes for the entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you so hard on that, Meredith. And there is this thing that I love to tell people that they're often shocked by is the fact that um a lot of times burnout happens more to people who are extremely passionate, and that is because when you're doing your when you're working a 9 to 5, you're not really that emotionally involved in the business. You might be, I'm not saying you can't be, but when you're doing your own job, when you're doing your own business, you're running your own business, suddenly there is 120% of you in there.
Mhm.
There's all of you in there, and there's something more added onto it, and there is the pressures that you feel, and you are literally burning the midnight oil, which a term that I genuinely hate. And so suddenly all these motivational quotes start to kind of rain down upon you, and it's not really as romantic as people count it to be. Like, there is this one quote that I absolutely despise, which is make every second count. I'm like, no, you became an entrepreneur to choose freedom, to have the freedom to go out there and talk to people, to have a freedom to actually meet your friends, to have the freedom of having the time to love and enjoy spending time with your family, to have the freedom to love yourself. You know, we choose being our own boss so that we can choose how we want to experience our freedom. But suddenly when you decide to run a business, there is all these things, or there are all these things that kind of fall upon your plate, and you're overwhelmed by it so much so that you stop thinking clearly. You're just like running from one thing to another, one thing to another, one thing to another. There is no pause, which
Mhm.
overwhelms a lot of people. So yeah, oh my gosh, am I absolutely going on a different tangent to
No,
what
you're
your original
absolutely,
question was?
you're so spot on. You're so spot on. I mean, I'm just listening to what you're saying, and I feel like you're laying down some real truths for people. Is,
Mhm.
if I see another Facebook ad that tells me that I can become a coach for $7, my mind is gonna blow, because you're not going to spend $7 and become a coach, and all of a sudden money is going to start shooting out of your computer, and that's all that there is to it. And I think we've gotten way too far in projecting entrepreneurship as like this, path that it's all going to come easily and that it's really, really simple, when the reality is you do end up typically choosing something that you are very passionate about, and you don't have the separation between a workplace and your home. It's all
Mhm.
blended
Mhm.
together. And
Yeah.
so what I found, and you can tell me if you agree with this, what I found is that I have to be very clear with my intentions. I have to be very clear with, what am I intending to do with my business? What am I intending to do with my life? What am I intending to do with my family? What am I intending to do with my own mental health, my physical health? How are all of these things coming together? And Whereas it's really easy in the corporate world to compartmentalize things because you can, as they say, leave work at work somewhat. I mean, you can't really, but there's just a different twist on that for the entrepreneur. So how do you feel, that someone can run their business with intention? And what are some of the suggestions that you make to your clients who come to you, who are burnt out, right? They're just maxed. How do you help them to begin to break down things and live with a little bit and work with a little bit more intention?
Yeah, thank you for asking such a wonderful question, Meredith. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, my dog. Give me 1 second. Can I just open the door and let her out? She's crying a
Sure.
lot. Yeah, hold on. She's crying a lot. Can you please do that? Thank you. Yeah, so I feel like as an entrepreneur, obviously there will be a lot of things on your plate. And like you said, which was a wonderful suggestion, was start your time with intention. I always tell people you might have a lot of things on your plate, but time is not running out. You can compartmentalize things here. So I actually suggest people to do this, because I do this myself. Is I have separate days for separate things, right? Like I have a separate day for client outreach. I have a separate day for coaching. So I only coach 3 days out of the week. I don't coach outside of that, because then I know during those 3 days I'll be completely in that coach mode throughout the day, right? I'll be in that zone of, okay, now I have to coach. Now I have to be in that space of, this is when I am coaching and I'm not doing anything else. I am not doing market outreach. I'm not creating videos. I am not doing any of that stuff, right? I spend 1 day of the week batching my content. And so this is really cool, because as a multi-passionate, I would love to just hop on and do random things at random points of time. But I just make a note of things inside. I send myself a personal message that, hey, this is a content piece that you could do, or you could talk about, or you could look into, or you could research into. And so I spend an entire day looking at what I've sent myself, and I just make content out of it and I edit it, and that's 1 day's worth of work done. So I know that after this point of time, I'm not going to look into content creation, because that is not what I should be doing. I should be focusing on a different thing. The next day could possibly be, okay, this is a day spent completely on learning. So that could be research. As I was telling you earlier, I love to read research papers. So reading research papers, reading books, talking to people, talking to mentors, doing all of this space, being in a space where I am the one receiving, right? So I could be doing that, spending 3 days coaching people, which is a form of giving. Then I can focus 1 day specifically on finances and all of that stuff. So I don't overburden myself. I realize that time exists for me, and a lot of people are like, well, Madhurima, you're romanticizing life. I am not. I am trying to be real about it. If I don't think about time as a tool and a resource that I can utilize for myself as an entrepreneur, I am going to be burnt out. I am going to be stressed out, because I'm constantly thinking of 101 things that I need to do, and I'm not doing any of them. And I'm feeling guilty about not doing any of them. So I am just in that constant zone of grind, and I'm not doing anything, and I'm just feeling guilty. And then I'm beating myself up about, oh my gosh, I'm such a bad entrepreneur, shouldn't be doing this. And then I'm dreaming about going back to the 9 to 5, but I'm also thinking about, oh shit, I hated 9 to 5. I don't want to go back in there. So I have to do this. This is my reality. And so you're just in a constant loop of thoughts. You're not doing anything. You're not physically getting stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this conversation, because I think every entrepreneur is living that every day, right? Where they're like, oh man, it'd be so much easier to just have the job like I used to have. But oh, wait, I hated my job. I hated that environment. I felt like crap. I was tired. I was stressed. I wasn't enjoying my life. But shoot, now I feel like I've got 100 things I want to do and I can't get them all done. So how do I get them organized? And a lot of the people that I work in the marketing and business strategy coaching that I do, I let people know, you do need to compartmentalize. You really do. So let's take a look at your world and figure out what are the things that need to happen in your business one time a month. What are the things that have to happen every month? Like, you need to pay your bills, you need to send your invoices, you need to review your financials, you need to plan your content for the next coming month, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is unique to their individual business. In every business, there are things that need to happen once a month. In
Yeah.
every business, there are things that need to happen once a week. In
Mm-hmm.
every business, there may be things that need to happen every day. Like,
Yeah.
I believe you need to be responsive on social media daily.
Mm-hmm.
Have to
Mm-hmm.
think of social media like if this was the 80s and we were running businesses, we would be thinking of the telephone.
Right.
If we wouldn't be able to not answer the phone on Wednesdays because we were coaching clients, we still have to answer the phone, but we
Mm-hmm.
also need to coach the clients. And so if you can start recognizing what is the work that even needs to happen in my business,
Mm-hmm.
who then needs to do it? Do I have to do all of that? Like
Right.
the first thing I got rid of was the accounting,
Mm-hmm.
right? The
Mm-hmm.
first thing I got rid of, hired a bookkeeper, hired an accountant. I don't want to do my taxes. I don't I don't want to manage my books. Somebody
Yeah.
else can do that a lot more effectively and efficiently than I can. And
Mm-hmm.
so that took that time off my plate. But the other thing
Right.
that you're talking about here that to me is so beautiful is we have to make a decision if we are at the effect of everything around us, or if we truly have the opportunity, like you're saying, to control that time is either being put upon us, like I have
Mm-hmm.
all these things to do for others or for my
Mm-hmm.
business, or I can say I'm at 100% choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at 100%
Yeah.
choice in any moment of how I am doing this. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not at the effect of others. I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to be the effect of my own decisions. And I'm going to really manifest my success by choosing to think that way.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I honestly, I'm gonna give away a big thing here, but basically in my coaching towards the very end of my program, I always tell people, because we work on figuring out what our core healthy habits need to look like, what our core healthy thought patterns need to look like. And I always tell them, hey, moving forward, you're not gonna have me around. You're going to be doing this on your own. So I need you to ask yourself at every moment of every big decision or small decision that you take is, am I in integrity with the values that I have cultivated and created and held space for right now? No matter how stressful it is, no matter how much you want to just run away and disappear and not deal with the things, am I in integrity with the thought process that I've created for myself? Because you
Mhm.
have spent 7 weeks doing it. You have spent a lot of times releasing a lot of old habits, old thought patterns, and cleansing yourself and inviting and implanting new thought patterns and things that you want to have in your life. So you can't then move forward and act out of integrity, act out
Mhm.
of not being in that space of, well, that was 7 weeks. I might have invested my time and money, but I don't give a damn. I'm just going to do whatever I wanted to do. Well, then that's not going to support you. So, yeah,
Yeah,
what you said was
absolutely.
really powerful in that aspect. Yeah. You keep asking yourself, like you said, am I in the effect of things that other people are doing, or am I in control of that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I fully believe, I worked around a lot of CEOs and a lot of CEOs who were doing very well and a lot who weren't. And I've also worked now in the last 10 years around a lot of entrepreneurs, some very successful, some, looking for that success. And I will
Mm-hmm.
tell you that one of the biggest differentiators between those that are finding success, whatever that may be, right? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be 7-figure income, whatever you define your success to be, people that are achieving that manage their time as if it is the most important asset, only second to their health and their personal well-being. But
Mm-hmm.
they manage their time with, such intensity, like you're saying, I have time in my week where I am receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. Where right now in your life are you saying, this is where I'm going to receive? Because if your cup runs completely empty, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to be able to serve the people that
So true.
you're here to serve. And
Mm.
that will be reflected in your business. And that loops right back around to being
Yeah.
out of integrity, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I feel like we could probably talk on this topic of burnout and integrity and
Oh
mindset
yeah.
for forever and ever. And I hope these lessons and little, golden nuggets that we've laid down today have been helpful for people. If somebody wanted to reach out to you, they wanted to know a little bit more about your work and what you do, what would be the best way for them to do that and to find you, Madhurima?
Yeah, so it's at Madhurima, that is Madhurima_freedom soul coach, right? So that's my Instagram account. I am always available on Instagram, except for when I'm sleeping, when I honestly don't look at my phone. I switch off my Wi-Fi and go to sleep because I don't want to be annoyed by things. But yeah, anytime you reach out to me, I will send you a response back in 24 hours. Hopefully, yeah, mostly. If it's a Saturday and you send me a message at 1 a.m. on a Sunday morning, I am not going to be looking at it because I'll be reading fan fictions and I'll be doing all of that stuff where it's
Nice.
a me day. But you can reach out to me there and I will respond to you as soon as possible. That is the best place to reach out to me, honestly. Every other
Awesome.
platform I kind of dribble and drabble at. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, never mind, kind of a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, so we can find you on Instagram, which is fantastic. We'll make sure to drop that link here in the show notes so that people are able to reach out and get a hold of you. I just want to say thank you for taking your time, for being here, sharing your knowledge and your experience. It's been wonderful to meet you and hear your story. And I feel like what you've shared is going to help all of our listeners to avoid a little bit more burnout in their lives. So thanks
Thank you so
again.
much.
And I'm looking forward to staying connected and following your journey.
Woohoo! Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
having me.
you betcha.